Hello everyone, happy full moon. This particular Gemini full moon is on the Great Attractor, and there are other interesting features as well. I can teach you a couple of basic things, how to look at certain fixed stars and so on. So let's start and let's take a look at the chart itself. This is for London, and the full moon will be exact on December the 8th at 4:08 a.m. And of course, the sun is below the horizon. Scorpio, 8.5 degrees is rising. And what is immediately obvious is the T-square, the mutable T-square, which we are going to take apart in a moment. But that's one of the interesting features. The other interesting feature is the fact that Saturn is on the IC. And if you look around in England, and of course elsewhere as well, living costs have skyrocketed. There are fuel shortages. There are food shortages. It's really the powers that be are trying to completely disrupt our regular life. They try to bomb us back into the Middle Ages. And the funny part is that they are unfortunately succeeding. The North Node Uranus conjunction is still tight. Uranus has been transiting Taurus for almost 4 years now, and wherever Uranus is the pattern that needs to change. But of course, it also gets disrupted. What gets disrupted? Our harmony, our well-being, our security, our financial stability. And the funny part is that since the North Node is also in Taurus, that should be our task. And at a first glance, you say, well, wait a second, this is completely you can't do it. There's no way. How can you accept a destiny choice, which means to secure your harmony and financial stability, and at the same time disrupt it? But that's exactly what we need to do. We need to reconsider how we live. We need to reconsider and rearrange the modern day living. When we say that this is a consumption society, I always say, no, this is a throwing away society. We throw away so many things that are still useful. If I told you how I lived in my childhood here in communist Hungary, you would be amazed, because we never actually threw out anything. We never even had a dustbin, because we either composted things or gave it to the animals. We burned the paper. Of course, we didn't have any plastic, but so it was a much simpler living, but it was a much healthier living. And maybe, just maybe, the Uranus North Node conjunction is trying to teach us something. At least I'm hoping so. The vertex is exactly on the Moon-Mars conjunction. Moon-Mars is an exact conjunction in this particular full moon. The Mars is retrograde in Gemini, and the vertex, which is the point of no free will, where you don't have any free will, kind of suggests that for England, at least for the English people, the fight is going to be there, and they won't have too much say in the matter yet again. And then you have dark moon Lilith in an applying conjunction with the Parasathena Lilith, black moon Lilith conjunction. So the two Liliths are there, and at the same time, the asteroid Lilith is making a trine. It's a bit wide to my taste, but it's still there to Uranus. It's a separating trine, but so the Liliths are also prominent in this particular chart. Okay, let's take it apart. There is a dissolved mutable T-square with the luminaries, Mars vertex on one corner, the sun on the other corner, and at its apex you have the Juno Astraea conjunction, which is separating already. And actually, I would not have included this particular conjunction already this time, but the reason that it became the apex of the T-square gives us yet another occasion to work on our relationships, partnerships, liaisons, and change old embedded karma, break old embedded karma, and somehow change our destiny with the help of it. And Uranus makes an exact quincunx to the sun, so it's actually really about change. So this mutable T-square is dissolved by Uranus in Taurus. Transcendental celestial objects, there are quite a few of them, and that is, so let's focus on the sun first, because that's where you find the Great Attractor. The sun is conjunct Nix, which is the night, and this gives us an interesting food for thought, really, because the sun, which is our daytime luminary, is aligned with the night. And yes, in the manifested 3D world, you always have juxtaposed ideas and parallel ideas as well. And day and night, of course, or light and darkness, of course, are one of the main features of the third dimension. There's also Paracelsus, polymath, and Huya, which is a Venezuelan rain god. And this particular TNO is linked to magic, particularly dark magic or black magic, let's put it this way. So we need to avoid that. We need to shine the light on this. Ras Al Ghadi is the alpha star of Hercules, and the Great Attractor, of course, is one of the key celestial areas in karmic astrology. I think I have an English version of my video as well on the three key celestial areas. There's certainly a long article on my website, so you can take a look at it. And all these key celestial areas carry dilemmas, karmic dilemmas. And with the Great Attractor, which is the central, we don't know what, of Laniakea, which is our cluster of galaxies. In Laniakea, you find a local galaxy cluster in which there's a Milky Way, in which there's the solar system. So this is our home. And the Great Attractor carries the dilemma of fate and free will. Where does free will start or stop considering fate? What is fateful? What needs to be carried as a problem or an issue by which we don't have free choice, and where can our free choice, our free will manifest? So those are the dilemmas. It's at 14 degrees Sag at the moment, and the sun is at 16 degrees Sag, and I usually give only a 1 degree orb for fixed stars, but this is of course not a fixed star. It is a huge, we don't know what, because they call it galactic anomaly, as it doesn't function as a black hole. Usually you find supermassive black holes in the center of galaxies and galaxy clusters. This one doesn't seem to be a black hole because it doesn't have an event horizon. So we don't know what it is actually. And on the moon, you have Gawain, a knight, okay, the Grail knight, or someone who is coming in shining armor maybe for the people of London or England. And Alkira, which is a TNO named after an Aboriginal creator god who creates the whole universe, and then takes off and goes to the edge of it and turns his back and never looks back into his own creation. And this is a TNO that is linked to creation, when you create something, but then don't really pay attention to its consequences or its workings. And that's on Mars. And I think it's very revealing, because that's exactly what the war is. People went into war and really created this full-blown, bloody and destructive war, and now they don't want to repair it. They don't want to actually come out of it. Okay, so that's on the Moon Mars vertex. I think I usually don't show you the vertex because I only work with it when it is in tight conjunction with something. It certainly won't make any other aspects, okay? Because the other side of it, the anti-vertex, is where you have free will, And with the rest of these points, like midheaven, IC, or descendant, ascendant, or the nodal axis, you actually have a midway point where the two can meet and actually become the other. But with free will and no free will, you really don't have a middle point. So it's not really an axis, so to speak. There are two separate points, two separate vertices, let's put it this way. Okay, on Astraea, and here I separated Astraea and Juno simply because there's already 5 degrees between the two of them, 4.5 degrees, something like that. And Astraea has Seneca, the Stoic thinker, and Juno has Themis and 2 fixed stars, and in the middle there's Nessus, the psychopath. You may remember the story. Nessus tells Deianira that his feminine veer and feminine and blood mixture is a potent remedy for all sorts of things, and of course he is dying because Hercules' arrow had been put into or plunged into the blood of the Hydra, which is a deadly poison. So here you have black magic and poisoning, but at the same time, when Hercules can't die half burning, but still because he is a demigod, that Hera, the arch enemy, lifts him up, redeems him, and brings him up to Mount Olympus. So there's also reparation and remedy there. And on so Nessus is there for both asteroids. And here you have 2 fixed stars, Ahernar, Alpha Eridanus, and Anka, which is Alpha Phoenix. And I prepared a picture for you showing where they are. These two fixed stars are on the same degree as Juno at the moment. And as you can see, Ahernar is a very southern star, Anka as well, but you never see Ahernar from the northern hemisphere. And Ahernar is the alpha star of Eridanus, the celestial river. It's the longest. It's not the largest constellation because it's not too wide, but the longest. So that's why it's considered to be the biggest constellation. And it sets out, the river Eridanus sets out somewhere at the celestial equator, and it comes all the way down almost to the South Pole. And it represents a journey when the soul is leaving the equilibrium, symbolized by the celestial equator, which is the divine balance, and sets off on a course which is long and hard, but the brightest star is at the very end. So you actually, when you reach the farthermost point, you arrive, and you arrive in a brilliant way. So that's what it symbolizes. And Anka, of course, the phoenix, is resurrection, rebirth. So that is on Juno. So you can utilize this on your relationships. And then there's a complex planetary picture around 27 to 29 degrees of the signs. There's a crown. You can see that it has a mystic rectangle and a harmony triangle. So that's the crown. And so you can see Pluto in Capricorn, Jupiter in Pisces, Ceres in Virgo, and Pallas Athena, black moon in Cancer. So that's the base. And on top of which is Sedna. That's the apex of the whole configuration. That is where the energy can point. That is the crown jewel, Sedna, which is creation through dissection. And then there's also a mutable T-square involving Ceres opposite Jupiter. And at the apex, you find Venus, which has an interesting position. In a minute, I will show you. Venus conjunct Hygeia. Hygeia is the asteroid of sacred spaces, cleanliness, health, hygiene, of course. So we need to put things in order, especially our harmony. Don't forget that Venus rules the North Node and Uranus. So we need to put things in order, no matter how horrible it looks like, no matter how difficult it is. We simply need to put our home in order, whereas our family, so that we can hope for something better. There are also two engines. Both are mutable, by the way, because the square is mutable and both have the squares as bases. And one is the Venus Hygieia, Jupiter Ceres. This is a mutable water engine. And then the other one is Venus Hygieia, Ceres, and Sedna. And this is the mutable Earth. That one is the stronger one. Don't forget that in engines you have three types of aspects. You have the quincunx, which carries karma. You have a square, which gives you daily energy and action, and you have the trine, which is blessings. Okay. Here, yes, as I told you that Venus is at a special position. Venus is actually at the galactic center, so our Milky Way center at 27 Sagittarius, and it also has Varda. So Venus has Varda, who was Manve's wife in the Tolkien Silmarillion, and she is the sky goddess who creates stars. So we can actually create stars at the moment. And on Jupiter, you see Manve. So Manve, both Manve and Varda are there. Manve is the earth god, so he is the so both are actually kind of sky gods and goddess, sky god and sky goddess, because but Varda rules the stars, and Manve rules the skies, the winds, and it represents astral projections, dimension jumps. So both are very prominent at the moment. It's quite interesting that they are in a square energy, but still they are prominent, one on Venus and one on Jupiter. Of course, you can also think about the fact that the two luck planets are in a square, but of course Venus is going to come out of the square very, very quickly. And on Jupiter, you still have Sheat, the alpha star, not the alpha, the beta star of Pegasus, one of the healing words for suicide victims. It's going to be there until it goes into Aries. On Pluto, you have the Terebellum and Amicus, which I have mentioned a couple of times. So I'm not going to go there again. But Atropos is important. It's an asteroid that is named after the third of the fates, who is cutting the thread of life. So Atropos is a death asteroid. That's it on Pluto, which is also associated with death and transformation. On Saturn, there are still the Pleiades. So again, it has been there. It will be there throughout the whole year, next year as well. So I'm not going to mention it too many times. On Ceres, of Dionysus, altered states of consciousness, Osiris, lord of the underworld, of the Egyptian underworld, and Alkaid, Eta Ursa Major, a bright star which is linked to the goddess energy. And on the Lilith, Pallas Athena conjunction, you have Rhea and Procyon. Procyon is a funny star. It's a very bright star. And of course, the little dog is a separate constellation from the big dog, Canis Major and Minor. But I consider them kind of one, because Procyon plays the role of a beta star. A beta star is normally showing the shadow energy of that particular constellation. And Procyon, since it is very close to Sirius, and Sirius is the brightest star on the night sky, in the night sky, sorry. Procyon, although it's very, very bright, brighter than most stars, still is kind of in the background, in the shadow. And Procyon is where souls learn how to be in the shadow, although I'm shining very, very bright. So how to accept the fact that someone is even brighter than me, someone is even stronger, someone is even more talented than me, even if I do have talent. That is what we can learn now. in this conjunction. And there's also a dissolved opposition with a little angel wing. Angel wings are the tiniest of the planetary pictures. Of course, there's the South and North nodes. Those are the bases. Dissolved by Astraea, karma breaker and destiny changer from Pisces. Also dissolved by Chiron in Aries, retrograde Chiron. And this is how the angel wing is formed. Chiron is at its apex. So our destiny is now linked to our karmic wounds resurfacing and the chance to break this old embedded karma in our lives with this particular full moon. And here are the transcendental celestial objects. I'm starting with the North Node, Albion. In my previous videos, you probably heard this portion. Albion is a figure in the creation myth created by William Blake, and it is the ancient proto man of the British Isles. Out of him, so he is cutting himself into four and creates mankind. And so this is also some sort of creation through dissection, you could say, but no, because with Sedna, you need to take things apart and see the non-working segments, throw them out and recreate from the rest of the structure something workable. But in Albion cuts himself into four equal portions. And this is always a new era by which, okay, I am dissecting myself. I am cutting myself into four pieces in order to create something new. So that's on the North Node. That's what we can do. Actually, this is at our disposal at the moment. So on Astraea is that. So you have Seneca, the Stoic thinker. On Chiron, you have Tisiphone. Tisiphone is the goddess of rage and retaliation, and Leila Puhona, which symbolizes, this is a TNO that symbolizes the soul's need and wish and want to come back to the earth plane to reincarnate into a physical body. I also have a video on Leila Puhona if you want to learn about it. And we came to the South Node, which has a number of celestial objects: Requiem, death, of course; Fortuna, which is fortune, so there's luck as well; Mbaba, which is a Zulu creation goddess who rules nature, and she also rules agriculture, but also the rainbow. So it's a creation goddess, and she is what I call the energy pattern to true true greenness, let's put it this way, because I don't even know what to use or how to phrase it, because my problem is that those who say that they are green and all these green energy, this is all bull. These are technologies that are trying to come into being. They put a lot of energy and effort already into it, but they still cost 10 times more than regular fossil energies. And they are forced upon us simply by the fact that because of the war, the prices went up. It's ridiculous, believe me. But Mbava is the true goddess for creation, creation safety, creation protection. This is how I call it, creation protection. Maybe that's will be a phrase that can spread, hopefully. And there are two bright, beautiful fixed stars, Alphecca, Alpha Northern Crown, and Acrux, Alpha Southern Cross. And let's take a look at where these two are in the night sky. First of all, you won't ever be able to see Acrux if you live in the Northern Hemisphere, because it's a very southern the Southern Cross is a very southern constellation, whereas Corona Borealis is up to the north. They are at the same astrological degree, and here, this is a drawing that I put it on. This comes from Solar Fire, of course, and I try to indicate that this is the same degree, but of course this is the sphere, so it's curving, and I have no idea how to create a curve. Sorry about that, but this is a curve, and you see that it's on the same astrological degree. And when this is, of course, say an equatorial view, but if I change it to ecliptical view, you can see that yes, indeed, it's the same degree. Now, why do I say that this is the dilemma of the South Node, which is our past? Because the dilemma is whether I am going to carry the cross, okay, of a crux, or whether I'm going to feel good about myself. Alpheka is the northern crown is a crown of feminine fertility, beauty, harmony. It is the wedding crown of Dionysus's wife. So it's really, it suggests luck and also joy, feminine joy. And the fact that these two very different stars, which are really at the other side of the universe, so to speak, represent and the two coins, or the two sides of the coin rather, that I can actually live by stating that it's too hard, I need to carry this cross, it's horrible, how can I get out of it? Or I can actually live in joy, and I can live in harmony and fertility. These are the choices. And this particular full moon carries this choice as well. Again, happy full moon. Thank you for listening to me. Bye-bye.